What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Let's talk Week 5 college football, and this is where we're going to get into the best bets that I'm going to be making. We are going to target 8 games where we will have plays in for this evening and afternoon and early afternoon if we are on the East Coast, and that's where I'm going to give you guys my breakdowns, my analysis, and my best bets. If you want to know what I'm actually playing, please hop on over to the Discord. That's a totally free platform that I want to share with you guys, and that's the thing about this channel. There's a lot of things that are free, okay? The main thing about that is it all comes with just one request. All I ask is you guys hit that like button and please subscribe down below, okay? It's very easy to do so, and I think a lot of people get freaked out by that subscribe button. They think they're signing up for Apple Music or something like that or some kind of Netflix subscription. No, there's no money to do so. It's a kind of I think a bad word they use. I think follow would be better, but if you subscribe to me here on YouTube, that's all I ask, and that way you get that notification bell whenever I do drop videos, content. You guys will get that promptly delivered to you. That's kind of why I have Twitter and Discord as well. Just the best way for me to communicate in real time. So I do get to see the numbers, and if I have 5,000 views on this video, 75% of those 5,000 views are not subscribed. So that's all I ask. Showing up every day, and we're going to cash some tickets this season, and let's keep it going. We've had a great Thursday and a great Friday as we look into kind of what's going to happen in college football. We had a very unfortunate ending, and I am going to touch on this because I want to know. Let me know down below in the comments. What did you guys have? If you guys did bet the Miami game between Virginia Tech, what was the call you made in the end zone? We taking it back? We called it incomplete, or was the ACC officials pulling out their pockets, turning their pockets inside out, trying to get that bid into the 12-team playoff format? Okay, because it wasn't coming from Virginia Tech. I can tell you that they would ended up with 4 or 5 losses, and Miami losing to an unranked team, they'd find themselves firmly outside of the top 12. So. Let me know down below in the comments. I had a no catch. I think that the problem was it was ruled a catch on the field, and that's where that was a four-digit swing, just very, very quickly for me. Where you got to ride those roller coasters. I thought for 5 seconds I was broke, and the next 5 seconds I'm rich. Just kidding, but I digress. You guys get the picture. So, life in the world of a sports gambler, and. For some people out there, it's even worse because they bet a lot more than I do in terms of unit size. So let's get into it. Enough bullshitting to start off the day. Love you guys. Appreciate you tuning in. And let's get down into the outlier where we are going to look into the games here. And I'm excited to talk about these games because I woke up kind of yesterday, and that's when I start really making my analysis and getting into these games a little deeper in terms of numbers. And there's not enough time in the day to talk about kind of what numbers are going to sway you one way or another. So we're going to give you guys the best bets, and I'll give you some tidbits along the way, some little nuggets, some alpha, and then we'll try to make the best bet possible. All right. But the first game that we are going to look into, and this is going to be one where we go down the odds board, and you can find it right now, Oklahoma State and Kansas State. I do want to briefly touch upon that game because I'm not really picking up what they're putting down there in Bill Snyder Stadium, okay? The family stadium, mind you. All right, we get Kansas State rolling in here. I got to admit when I'm wrong, okay? I was a very, very big believer, okay, with Avery Johnson. I saw him play his first game as a true freshman, and I said, man, that kid's going to win the Heisman. Really elite speed. So I don't know what the hell he did. I don't know if he was drinking too many beers in 2 days, but I don't think he has that same burst. He's a little bit, broader. He's bulked up a little bit, and he just doesn't have that lightning speed that just could cut through the secondaries and get into that second level. For me, that's kind of where I'm at within this. I just want to touch on this game because this is a big game to bet. It's a noon kick. Oklahoma State, conversely, is one of those teams, though, that they're struggling right now. This is not the same Mike Gundy team that we're used to seeing running the football down your throat. They're going to try to do that, okay? But this is something where they're having some issues, right? They're a one-dimensional team, in my opinion. Kansas State winning 9 of their last 10 out of home, so at home. It's just one of those ones where I really want to love Kansas State in this spot. They're probably going to win and cover. I'll give you that. They're probably going to win and cover. I do lean towards the under, but within this Kansas State, Oklahoma State matchup, I just don't trust Avery Johnson enough to lay the points, okay? And I'm sure they're probably going to win and cover. I'm not doubting that, but in this matchup, I'm just letting you know that's kind of where I'm at and why it's off my card, okay? So it's kind of that narrative that I'm going to share with you, okay? And then we are going to get into a couple other games here. Let's go down the list. Western Kentucky and Boston College. Now, this is a game where we do have to talk about, because the big story here is kind of the absence, okay? The absence of what we're seeing within Boston College's quarterback, Thomas Castellanos. No, not to be confused with Philadelphia Slugger, Nick Castellanos. This is Thomas Castellanos is the bread and butter of this Boston College offense. It's kind of the lifeline, if you will. They go as he goes, and I think this is going to be something as we look at Western Kentucky. What they're able to do offensively, I really look for this game where they're literally averaging almost 500 yards a game offensively. In Boston College, we know about them playing kind of sound football defensively, but this is kind of maybe a tap the brakes kind of game for me, just due to the fact without Castellanos taking Western Kentucky on at home. And I think it's more of a stock up on Western Kentucky. I know there was a weather delay, but that comeback against Toledo, I think Toledo's a little undervalued as well. But we really have to look into Boston College's wins and actually see who have they played, okay? I know they beat Michigan State 23-19, almost beating Missouri, Duquesne 56, in Florida State. We all know they're fugazi. But this is, for me, kind of where I'm at with this handicap. I just don't think Boston College is going to be able to keep pace with Western Kentucky. Kind of a little sneaky money line play for me, plus 260, taking the Hilltoppers on the road. But I'm going to lay the 8.5, taking Western Kentucky. And unfortunately, for all you guys that do bet earlier in the week, if you did like Western Kentucky, congratulations on some closing line value, because we are seeing some huge line movements to the side and to the total, falling like a rock, 54 down to 48 and 13.5 down to 7.5 in some spots. So almost a touchdown in closing line value that you were able to gain if you did take the Hilltoppers a little earlier in the week before the Castellanos news. Little side nugget for that as well. The over has hit in 4 of the last 6 games for Western Kentucky on the road. So maybe you lean towards that narrative. Boston College is going to be kind of not a team where I'm going to look into them offensively, knowing exactly what they're going to roll out. I just can't do that. So for me, it's Western Kentucky. It's kind of probably a little chalky spot too, because now you see how much Castellanos was in value to the line moving. You can see how many points he was worth, right? Almost 4.5 points to the number as it currently sits right now. So I do like Western Kentucky plus the points. All right, next game, and I will kind of show you some insight. This is a great thing about Outlier. Right here, you can see the public money right now, and see right now that we are getting a overwhelming amount of the money is on Boston College. Which is kind of surprising. So we are going to take the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers, and we do have some sharp movement towards the under 51 or 91% of the money, conversely to 49% of the bets. So that's where I'm at in this game. Give me the Hilltoppers plus 8.5. All right. Next game, let's talk about. I am going to briefly go over Minnesota, Michigan for all you Big Teners out there. This is a spot where I lean under, but 34.5, damn, that is a low total. Okay, Michigan is 9-4 against the spread in their last 13 games as a favorite. We look at Minnesota; they are basically covering 1 out of their last 5 in their last 6 games as a underdog in the spot. For me, it's a game where Michigan might have a little letdown, but it's really tough to lay 10.5 at home when you have a total sitting at 34.5. So that's kind of how I look at this game and approach it. All right. Next game on the board. All right, let's get into the bet that we will have between Kentucky and Ole Miss. This is going to be one where at the end of the day, I'm going to laugh or I'm going to cash a ticket. But for me, this is a bet where as much as I love Ole Miss, okay, I am going to be taking Kentucky with the points. I did scoop them up early in the week because I knew this would just get bought down. I am going to take that 7. I did take a 17. Don't chase this number because it might actually close closer to 14 than you believe. Kentucky in this spot, you're going to hear all the news and the nuggets the whole day, and then we do have this at noon, so it's going to be a little bit better. So we might have gotten all the movement we're going to get. But in this game, this is the big storyline here, okay? If you go back and you look at SEC play between Kentucky and Ole Miss and these last meetings that they've had, this is a pretty good statistic that jumps off at the page at me. All of these games, I think collectively, if you add them all up together, and I might be wrong on this, but I heard it on ESPN a couple days ago, these games have been decided by a collective, I think it was like 9 points over the last 3 outings. So it's something stupid where it's less than a touchdown in every single game. So let's go with that narrative. I know they're going to be fired up. They're going to be hot and toddy. That's going to be, thank God it's a noon kickoff, because there's going to be some bourbon slung around down in Mississippi today. But that's where I'm going to take the Kentucky Wildcats in this spot. I did take them at plus 17 earlier in the week. So right now the number's at 15.5. So I really don't think this is a number that you go chasing. 15.5 is a horrible number. However, I don't think it's really going to matter. I think Kentucky keeps this one under double digits. Very impressed about how they played against Georgia. The only thing that worries me is that this is the letdown game right after Georgia. You go from facing kind of like that phone book, smash mouth, we're going to break you down over the course of the game, 4 quarters, and then all of a sudden, boom, go on the road after getting kind of let down, emotional letdown, and then you go take on the Rebels at home, where, quite frankly, they're going to be running a 5,000. They're running Ferraris on that field. It's going to be a track meet. So look for a lot of points. But I do think Kentucky's defense keep this one as low as they can, and let's just hope for a cover with that 17. Okay. Next game is a little bit of an interesting matchup. We do get to see the James Madison Dukes going against the Ball State Cardinals. Now, the interesting thing about this game is how do you view James Madison after that bludgeoning they performed against North Carolina, scoring 70 points in that contest? Well, maybe a little bit of a kind of a sharp play. A public play, but we're going to take James Madison do the same exact damn thing. We're going to take them to score a ton of points. Ball State looks to throw the football. So within throwing the football, you get incompletions. Incompletions, they stop the clock. And with the new clock rules that we've deployed in college football, that's kind of what I look for. So I am going to look for James Madison to score a crap ton of points. And Ball State, conversely, we're going to look for them to throw the football, kind of keep that clock alive, and then that's where we're going to see some efficiency. Where you look at Ball State, okay, this is a big thing. They have allowed the worst amount of yardage per play in all of college football thus far through the season, and a whopping 44 points. So essentially what it comes down to, guys, is James Madison's going to get theirs. How many of those will be actual field goals versus touchdowns? We need to turn those 3s into 7s, and this is where we've seen Ball State, all 3 of their games, okay? All 3 of their games went over the total, so they're 3-0 to the over, and we do have James Madison 1-2 to the over. However, I do look for that 70-point performance to continue. I do think that Ball State's a little less of a defense than North Carolina, and now they're at home. I think this is something where we got to throw out some weird outliers, right? Gardner-Webb 13-6. So it's a little bit has some variance to it, but I do think that what we're seeing within James Madison just absolutely exploding. The only thing that worries me is the James Madison stifling defense. What we see for Ball State in terms of how many points they're able to score. This is kind of where I look at James Madison. I look at them as a 20-point favorite. I like them minus 20. 21.5 now is the number. That's a little bit unbettable, but if we can get James Madison minus 21, I like that. But my best bet in this contest is the over 56. Okay, in a half now. You can actually take an over 56 with some juice. Earlier on in the day, that was 57. So just need Ball State to score about 14 to 17 points, and I think this one covers with ease. Okay, that's where we're going to be at. And then let's get into the next game where we do look into kind of the Kansas Jayhawks and TCU. Okay, now this is an interesting spot because Kansas right now comes in this game 1-3, 0-1 in conference, and this is not a TCU team that's kind of any. I guess you would say kind of what we're used to seeing, right? They're not a top 4 team. And Kansas comes in this game minus 2.5 at home. For me, guys, this is pretty much cut and dry. When I look at the Jayhawks in this spot, they just have to finish the game. They've literally controlled every one of their games that they've lost, of their 3 losses, into the fourth quarter, and then have since relinquished that lead. We saw that against West Virginia, all right, and amongst others. And this is something where we talk about kind of what's going to happen here in this spot. And personally, guys, I really look into the narrative and feed to the argument that Kansas is a lot better team. Jalen Daniels, unbelievable quarterback. They can run the football. TCU cannot stop the run. I think Kansas gets their way. I do like them on the money line minus 125, and that's that's going to be where I lean. Very strong play towards Kansas money line minus 125. Okay. Wisconsin and USC, I'll touch upon it just because everybody wants it's all cute that we get the Rose Bowl every week with USC and the Big Ten. But this is something where I think Lincoln Riley responds. I do like laying the 14.5. USC looks to explode. We saw what Alabama did to Wisconsin. They're going to struggle with speed. And this is going to be one where a lot of people think USC has trouble in the Big Ten playing that format of football. But for me, I think USC rolls. If we can get them at 14, gives us an opportunity for a push. So I will take USC minus 14. I'll give that out as a very strong lean, not an official play. Okay. And let's talk about it. Let's get into kind of the primetime 3:30 game. This is Louisville and Notre Dame. The Fighting Irish, okay? This is a very sharp play, I think, in terms of what we're looking at. This is possibly the, people are pegging this as the Riley Leonard welcome to Notre Dame game where he just absolutely has a day. It's been baffling for me because, he comes in as a recruit, wins the Manning Academy, okay, the passing academy, wins that award against some really high-powered quarterbacks that have great arms, and he really struggles to throw the ball within those, intermediate throws, 15 to 35 yards, and that's something where it's not I don't know if it's an arm strength thing, but it's just a very, very, very weird release. Definitely more college orientated in terms of that, but that boy can run, and I think he gets it done on the ground. Louisville, Notre Dame, that's always been kind of a little battle we've had throughout the years, and for me in this spot, this is coming down to a couple things. It's a very, very sharp play for Notre Dame, okay? We look at this, you can see at face value, okay, great guys. Notre Dame loses to Northern Illinois, right? We thought they were the best team in the country. The next thing, the sliced bread. A lot of people are saying they, top 3 team in terms of rankings. I'm a Notre Dame fan, and I keep it 100. I just tell you, not so fast. But Notre Dame knows the importance for this game. This is something where you could even look last week, a little bit of a look ahead after that outing against Purdue. Purdue is definitely a garbage team, but I think Notre Dame gets this one done. We're seeing the line move up to 7. I did take this at Notre Dame minus 6 as soon as the number came out because it's one of those weird games where, the majority of people are going to say, give me the Louisville money line here. This is a classic Notre Dame, Brian Kelly, Charlie Weiss game where they just lose these games. They've historically lost these games. But not so fast. I think they take care of business. They control the line of scrimmage. That offensive line has grown up since that Northern Illinois game. The defense is going to be ready to go. And I know it's a big, big value play if you want to take Louisville plus 220. But for me, Notre Dame minus 6, great teaser partner. Love them on the money line if you can take that 6 points down to a pick 'em. And this is something where we look at both of these defenses. Both of these defenses are getting it done. In the top 25 rankings for pretty much every defensive category. Clock is going to be at a minimum. The under is going to be in play. How much actually gets played in a phone booth, though, is the real question. I think Notre Dame has the edge if this game is kept under control. If Louisville's offense is tamed, we get a very grinded out, low-scoring football game. I definitely lean towards the Irish, and I think this one gets done. Possibly even like in the likes of 17-10. Just something weird like that. Maybe 20-13. Very low-scoring phone booth game, but I like Notre Dame's backs a little bit more in offensive line to control that line of scrimmage at home, and the fans need it, so it's going to be a rowdy crowd there in South Bend, so give me the Irish. Minus 6 was my best bet. I will take that up to 7, but I will not bet it past 7 if it does move up to 7.5, okay? Next one we're going to get into, and this is going to be a game that we have to talk about because of the likes of, Dabo's doing it. All right, Stanford Cardinal going to Clemson, probably one of my favorite bets of the evening, afternoon. We are going to take the over in this game. 57 is the best number that you can find. I think Clemson is going underrated within what they're able to do offensively, and Stanford, conversely, they do have a dual threat quarterback. He gets it done with his legs. Clemson's defense is a little bit better than people think. I do like Clemson to cover this spot. I think this is a little stock up on Clemson. I think people are underestimating how good actually Georgia is. And, getting your first week of the season in against them is not going to be a good recipe for success for really any football team, college or pro, at any level, okay? And I think this is where you look at Stanford. We saw this game basically 26-24 against Syracuse. TCU 34-27. I think Clemson gets their way. I think Clemson gets in the high 40s at minimum, and all we need is a couple scampers and scores for Stanford, which I think we get maybe even in garbage time. So give me the over 57 in Stanford and Clemson. That's one of my favorite bets of the evening. But we look at Cade Klubnik. Let's see what he's made of. Let's see if he can put up some points against this new ACC squad within the Stanford Cardinals. Still weird saying that, but nonetheless, that's going to be one of my best bets of the evening. Okay. Next, let's talk about Ohio State, Michigan. We'll get into that in another video. I think it's a lot of points going on the road in your first Big Ten game, so that's going to be a kind of an interesting one to talk about. I do want to show you guys one game that is something that we're going to be talking about a lot, and this is the 3:30 matchup between UNLV and Fresno State. Interesting storyline. And as soon as this all went down, I banged the UNLV money line. I don't agree with the line movement, and I don't agree with the public betting. We're seeing the majority of the money is on UNLV. But at one point, the public action was on UNLV too before the quarterback pulled his name out of the hat and since withdrew from UNLV. The backup quarterback's no slouch. I think this is a little bit of an overreaction within the public side of this bet. I liked UNLV with the quarterback, and I liked him even more kind of without the quarterback. So we did see a little weird line movement where now UNLV is -2.5. A lot of sharps are on this. Probably my biggest bet of the evening, or afternoon, I should say. Taking UNLV on the money line -130 in this spot. That's where I'm going to be taking UNLV. Okay. I did actually bet that -1, but we'll call it the money line for all intents and purposes for the sake of this video. Okay. Next, let's get into kind of the game that is going to be on everybody's radar, but I'm going to save that one for last. Let's talk about the Boise State-Washington State game real quick, and this is something where we look into what Ashton Jeanty is able to do for the Boise State Broncos. Quite frankly, I hope my Heisman ticket I got 75-1 on him ends up coming in. That'd be a nice little futures bet I made early on in the season. Had kind of a soft week last week, but against Washington State, we'll see what happens. I do look for this game. I think that the right side to be on is going to be the likes of Washington State plus the points, but I do like this game in terms of an over, okay? We saw Boise State put up 56 points against Portland State. This game has potential to get into overtime even. Might see some triple digits even if we do get into the 50s for both squads. Washington State, 52-54 against San Jose State. San Jose State had a pretty decent defense. And that's kind of where the handicap lies. I know that Boise's going to run the ball, but they're going to get into that second level. They're going to have some long chunk gains. When they run the football, it's a little different than other teams that you're going to get, it's 3 yards and a cloud of dust. Theirs is about 30 yards and a cloud of dust on average for their big plays. So it makes up a lot of that time difference that we see just kind of melting away the clock. And in this, I do like Boise State, Washington State taking the over. So that would be one of my best bets. Boise State over 64.5 against Washington State at home. So light at the blue field. Let's get some points and let's cash some tickets. All right, and then the last game on my card that I am going to be targeting, this will be the likes of the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Georgia Bulldogs. The game that everybody's going to be watching. I don't care who's on baseball, whatever. This will be prime time, #1 TV going to my house. Kind of a great afternoon, evening for me for football viewing. I'm going to be watching probably 5-6 games at once, but I will have my Notre Dame squad going at 3:30, and then we're going to just go right up, a little half hour, kind of get some food, maybe some wings, pizza, and then right into this primetime spot where we really get into this, because this is one of these SEC clashes where it kind of comes down to it. What do you think is going to be the storyline here? Is the pressure on Kalen DeBoer, or is it going to be on Kirby Smart going against a first-year head coach in Alabama now, taking over for Nick Saban? This is going to be the big storyline. And quite frankly, if you look into kind of some of the betting trends, the numbers, and everything leading up to this game, throw them out all the window. Throw them all out the window. Okay, this is a new regime. Jalen Milroe has been fantastic. He's had a rushing and passing touchdown in every single game thus far in the season. Taking care of business against Wisconsin, South Florida, and Western Kentucky. Cheers. Well, now Georgia comes to town, going on the road, and this is the second time, I think, in the modern era that Alabama. I should say that in the Nick Saban / Kirby Smart era that the Nick Saban / Kalen DeBoer era that Alabama has been a home favorite. A home SEC underdog, okay? And this is the second time that's happened. Now we see Alabama sitting right now at a 1-point favorite, so a lot of money that we've been seeing flow in on the Crimson Tide. That's expected. You're gonna have sharps on both sides of this game. It's too big of a spot, and right now you can see the overwhelming amount of the money betting splits. 59% conversely to 53 public versus the pros. When we talk about what's going on, everybody's on Alabama. That's why we're seeing the line move. All right, in a very strong money line play where we get 94% of the money's on Alabama money line. For me, I just got to trust my eyes, trust my judgment. This is a Georgia play for me. I'm going to lay Georgia here on the money line, -115. If you can get that even lower. But this is something where you got to look at what Kirby Smart's able to do. And it's not been pretty, but this is different. Okay, this is different. I think that Georgia up front, their defensive line going against that Alabama offensive line will be the big storyline. I just don't know if Jalen Milroe is going to have that kind of game. This could be a Heisman moment where the winner of this game comes out with a front-running lead, commanding lead on that postseason award. But this is something where you just look at kind of what he was able to do in Washington. We saw them play against Alabama, and just how this all kind of like transpires now with last year's postseason run in that Final Four, how this all transpires into today's game. What does it mean? Okay, plain and simple, this is where Kirby Smart's just 1-5 against Alabama. And, returning to his old team, I think this is just something where it's a step up in class for Alabama. I think the number's wrong. I think that if Georgia did not have that kind of lousy look-ahead game against Kentucky, if they didn't struggle, I think you'd see this a little bit different narrative where I think they'd be a little bit bigger of a number. We might get 4.5, 5.5. I think the number is just a little too low. So we do get some value taking Georgia in a pick'em. I think that they're going to be better suited for this game. They're going to be better prepared, and I think that the game plan is going to be a little bit better as well. So this is where I think that Georgia does have blowout potential. I know it sounds crazy, but I think the number's wrong. I think that Georgia has a very strong chance to win this game by 14 points or more. So you can kind of ladder your alternate bets, your alternate lines if you want to do so. For me though, it's going to be Georgia -115. I just think that they're better in every category. I think they're going to be better within their defensive line. I think the quarterback play is going to be a little bit better as well. And as long as they contain Milroe, I think this game is pretty much firmly in the grasp for the Georgia Bulldogs. So that'll wrap it up. Those are my best bets. Here is kind of a rundown where I'm going to pull up my final plays. I appreciate you guys all watching. I know this is kind of how we're going to be doing it here. So it's going to be something where, please understand this is a evolving channel, right? I don't really know what works best for you guys and for me. So right now, these are kind of my best bets. These are the games that I'm going to be targeting. Doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to be betting them, but these are my best bets that I have for today's contest. Always shop around for the best number. That's why I use Outlier to make my picks. There is a link down below where you can get a 7-day free trial. If you want to sign up with Outlier, make the best bet possible. Don't cut yourself short in terms of that. But that's kind of where we're going to kind of end this video. Good luck with your bets. Enjoy the day. It's a great day to be alive. Any day we have college football consuming your whole Saturday is one that we're going to celebrate. So that's what I got. Make sure you all subscribe on your way out. Like I said, really glad to have more people into the fold. Also, channel members. Appreciate you guys always, always, always. All right. Thanks. Good luck with your picks, and we'll see you guys over on the Discord. Cheers.